Hi, I'm Tim of the 1916 Company, announcing our all-new 1916 Company app. Check out our all-new community features, including wrist time, where you can log the watch you wear, how often you wear your watches, and see a graphical representation of how you use your collection. But wait, there's more, because this wrist time feature allows you to post in real time to our live feed of user wrist shots. Our community functions also include professionally moderated discussions, all sorts of views, debate, insights into what people want to say about the watches of our times, and all your favorite features are coming back, including media, editorial from Jack Forster, video from yours truly. You can continue to build your online collection and your wish list, plus all the commercial features are back. Buy, trade, and sell through the app, browse our global inventory of pre-owned and new watches. A wrist shot could begin the process of a trade or a purchase. Find the 1916 Company app on the Apple App Store and Google. Hi, I'm Tim of the 1916 Company, and welcome to Collector Conversations. I've discovered through the years that the best watch collections are the ones that seamlessly dovetail free will and fate, and today that's exactly what you're about to see. Luke, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Tim. Excited to be here.
Now, early on, I think we could probably declare fate to be the inception of your watch fascination. Tell me a little bit about where this started and this watch.
So this was back in about 2014. I was 14 years old, and my grandfather was sick, and he had this watch, unbeknownst to me. And right before my birthday, about 4 days before, he handed this to me on his literal deathbed. And this was a watch that he had worked for very hard and was given to him when he retired. And when this was passed on to me, this would have sparked my watch obsession now. And this will forever be in my collection. And I think it's a great testament to the work ethic that my family has instilled.
And also a kind of tribute to the way we were as a society. Presented to Kenneth, 1970, 15 years of safe driving. And it's beautifully preserved.
It probably saw the light of day only a few times, lived in a drawer, and then was eventually passed on to me. And I've worn it multiple times, but for the most part stays away, just because it's a bit fragile, a bit delicate, and it's something I want to have when I'm 80.
And your grandfather drove for a living?
He drove trucks for Cowan.
And so it was customized on both the dial and the case back for his retirement?
Correct. And on the way here today, I passed the Cowan truck, so I'll take that as a sign.
That is a sign. Those are the laws of nature, you know? Fate follows us. So from that first watch, you start to become watch curious. So this is the cornerstone of not just the collection, but your entire preoccupation. Where did it lead you from there?
So from there, it went down a very dangerous and fast path of watch collecting. But I'd like to say the GMT here was the watch that kind of sparked a lot of in-depth research on this stuff. So going through watching Magnum PI when I was younger, despite being a 2000s baby, I did watch Magnum PI, seeing the beautiful red Ferrari and the scene he comes out of the ocean wearing a Pepsi GMT, and it pops on screen. It was brand new at the time, so the colors were a lot better. And when I saw that, when I was maybe about 12, went, one day I have to have that. Not having any idea what a Rolex was or if it was special. And I ended up going with a newer one when I was a bit older, and it didn't scratch that itch. So I found this beautiful 1977 1675, and that is one of my most favorite watches, and it is one of the first ones I can remember seeing and saying, I have to have that one day.
I would say, all things considered, between the watch and the Ferrari, you probably saved yourself a fortune on engine-out belt replacements by going with the watch.
I'd hope so.
So now this actually came a little bit further down the line. This was perhaps more recent when you started to envision how to expand the collection into vintage, for example. Take me back to that first watch, your first real luxury watch that was made as a decision.
Sure, absolutely. So we'll start with the Daytona here.
Okay.
So this was my second Rolex from the AD. First would have been a Submariner no date, but this was the one that came with me today.
Now, the no date, correct me if I'm wrong, but you walked into a dealer, pointed to it, and bought it, and it was that simple.
2016, my dad and I walked in, and they had the no date sub, ceramic, and went, oh, that's great, let's get it. And just thinking about the story now, it was offered at a slight discount because they were able to run the tax
Don't tell anyone.
through another location. So actually, I got my first Rolex Submariner no date at a discount from the AD.
Same day.
Same day.
Okay, again, this is like we're talking about the 19th century or the 20s, and we're either taking a stagecoach or an autogyro. But yes, there was a time when you could do that. But it wasn't the end of your Rolex passion. Now, you did choose the Daytona as the next step.
I did. So jumping forward 4 years to 2020, it is June of COVID. Not a lot going on, and I'm deep diving now into watches between online school, and now that's over. Where does my time go? Well, researching watches. So as a car lover, it's a passion both my dad and I share along with watches. The Daytona was a natural next step. And through the same dealer, went ahead and called, and they actually brought this to my house for me. At retail, second Rolex from the dealer.
You got ahead of the curve if you did that during COVID.
June of 2020. That is exactly when the card is stamped.
That's like when we all wish we bought watches, houses, or 20,000 gallons of gasoline at like peak COVID recession
Right.
prices, you know?
Absolutely.
So now this watch is pretty, I have to say, it seems very Miami for a Jersey kid. What drew you to this design?
So, a theme here is black and gold. I think it's a wonderful combination, but something about this on the rubber strap, it just felt it wasn't as in your face as a full gold Daytona. It was a little bit more robust with the ceramic bezel. It will go well on a surfboard and it'll look great driving. And it's the perfect all-around watch. You can wear it doing anything. I've never had a problem with it. And I think that with the gold subdials, it gives it that little extra pop, making it a little bit more formal, but still sporty enough to throw on with a t-shirt and jeans.
And you are more than entitled to be a little bit Miami because you were a lifeguard for many years in Jersey.
Yes, I still to this day work weekends in the summer for the beach patrol.
Jersey Shore lifeguard, you almost have to have a rose gold Daytona. Okay,
Well,
so
that one's never going to make it to work, unfortunately.
no, that's fair. That's fair. So between, I guess, the point that you started getting deep into watches, stuck inside during COVID, and the time that you graduated from school, which was fairly recently in 2023, I guess this idea of having a graduation watch developed. Now, we've got a couple of graduation watches on the table, so maybe it's best that we address these as a pair.
Absolutely. So jumping back, growing up, this was a watch my dad always wore. I always remember seeing it on his wrist or under a cuff. And driving, I would notice when the band was starting to peel, because he would say, I have to go, we got to go get a new band, or it needs a new battery, always needed service. And on the back of it is a wonderful engraving from his parents, so my grandparents. And this is something that embodies a great deal of hard work, taking night classes, and really hustling to be able to have something nice. And this actually ended up coming from his parents, which I think means the world. And to this day, this is when I see any gold watch on a brown strap, I think of my dad immediately. Fast forward from the graduation year to my year, my parents were generous enough to gift me this wonderful Datejust on Jubilee. And this might be the pinnacle of my collection. No matter what I have or will have in the future, it has the same exact engraving as my dad's graduation watch, except this one's mine from my parents.
How did they know? Like, did you drop Easter eggs or clues, or did they just make a really great guess?
They knew I was into watches, and I guess a couple months before they had stopped in and and found something that I would like and held on to it. And I had no idea until I showed up to dinner a couple weeks before graduation. And this was hidden on the chair next to me.
Very, very cool. And so is this a special occasion watch, or do you wear this regularly?
This is reserved for special occasions. And when I put that on, that's my I've made it watch. No matter anything else on the table or what's coming in the future, that was my hard work, and everything culminated in a timepiece that I could look at and one day hopefully pass on.
So now you're moving into the working world. Your background is in finance, staying local, it's a Northeast kid, so Northeast industry. You start to expand your horizons now, but not before you realize you need an absolute beater. So before we get into high horology, let's see how low can we go with G-Shock. Tell me the story behind this.
So during COVID, I was promoted to an officer in Beach Patrol, which was a bit of a better role than just sitting on the stand. And I needed something more robust to get through the workday of being through morning workouts and on the beach all day in the water and playing a lot of Call of Duty with friends and not having much else to do. Well, the natural route is, well, what do the special warfare guys wear? Well, the 3230 G-Shock is good enough to go on some of the most dangerous missions in the world. Well, it must be good enough to get a tan and work out in. So I ended up picking this up, and it has been beat to all hell. I've smashed it on paddle boards, banged it on quads, it's been buried in the sand. Never once.
How many kids have you fished out of the water while wearing this thing?
Oh, more than I'd like to know, but it is the absolute best beater watch I've ever had.
I think every true watch collection needs to have an heirloom piece and a G-Shock. You're off to a flying start. What on earth happened back here? It looks like you engraved your initials with a toothpick.
Yeah, so at some point in the morning, I decided that when I would take my watch off to work out at the lifeguard base, well, if someone takes it, because some people tend to have sticky fingers at the base, well, I'll know it's mine because I just took a screwdriver and put my initials on the back. That way I knew if I saw it on someone else's wrist, all I need to see is that case back, and I know.
And it's now a piece unique.
It is a piece unique, yes, even with the probably leftover salt and sand from this past summer.
Now I need to wash my hands. So great start. We got heirloom watches, we've got Rolex, graduation pieces, past and present, retirement, vintage. But you did develop a taste for the finer things. When did you start thinking, you know what? I want some high horology. When did you first have a conception that this world existed and you wanted to be part of it?
It was about in 2022. So we're about 2 years into my deep dive into watches and starting to look at what's out there, what more lies beyond Rolex. And I came across Vacheron and the Overseas, which, to be totally truthful, the name itself, hearing it, made me like it. Overseas, well, that's fantastic. But then seeing the blue dial online, started to think, well, it's a bit like the ocean, but didn't really spark anything. And then I saw it in person and I was blown away. The first thing that caught my eye was that deep, deep blue dial, which is very reminiscent of a hot August day at the Jersey Shore. It is a great memory of mine. It is a part of me. It has been for 24 years. And this furthers that, even going with the indices outlined in gold. When that washover comes and leaves a little bit of sand and water, it kind of resembles the beach. Or maybe that's my justification for an expensive watch. I don't know. But it is one of my favorites. Does not see that much wear anymore.
I don't think there has ever been a rational case, a purely rational case for a luxury watch. So it's okay. It's a little bit of a flight of fancy and very romantic, that it's almost like a little piece of the beach that you take anywhere you go.
Absolutely, and the versatility is unbeatable with this. Being that I do travel and love to go on the water and skiing, I can throw this on a strap and it is now a pure sports watch, and on a bracelet it's a bit more elegant and refined and still able to do all the same things that I can do with a strap.
And where have you been with this watch?
Well, it's been skiing at the top of mountains in Utah, and it has been in the waters of the Atlantic. So it has been some of the highest points and the lowest points.
A little piece of the Jersey Shore in Utah, so there you go. Geographic conundrum there. But this watch also comes with straps. Is there a time and a place to swap out the bracelet and put it on either the rubber or the leather strap?
Most of the time in the summer, if it's a special occasion or going out or want to feel special while sitting at home, I guess I could leave it on the gold. But most of the time it's reserved for the summer, and it hasn't been switched out in quite a bit of time because it's quite a large piece now.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, the bracelet's one of the best in the business, you know.
Absolutely.
Go with what works. You definitely developed a theme, like if your collection is a collection, there's a collection inside that, and that's rose gold. How did you latch on to rose gold? It seems, I always thought LA, Miami, the French and Italian Riviera, that's rose gold. Singapore is rose gold. London, Frankfurt, Chicago, New York, New Jersey, that's like white gold or steel. Like, how did you latch on to rose gold?
So I love the idea of a yellow gold watch. It doesn't really suit me. It's a bit loud, a little bit louder than rose gold for sure. But the first time I saw my big rose gold piece was on a very close family friend. He had a 44 millimeter rubber clad offshore. And that thing is a monster. You can't miss it. And something about it just caught my eye. I don't know if it was the contrast of the gold on the black or kind of the aura around the wearer, but that was one of the first pieces I saw and went, I have to have a rose gold and black watch at some point in my life. So we moved and discovered this offshore.
So now this gentleman was, you know, an aspirational figure, someone you really admired.
Yes.
So sort of a style maker from your standpoint.
Absolutely.
So now you couldn't get the exact watch that he had maybe, but maybe you didn't want it. Tell me about how you reached this 43 millimeter conclusion, because this is a very contemporary look in offshores. The 43's only been out for a few years.
Absolutely. So going in, once I was at a point where I could start to look at my own AP and I had to have an offshore.
And you're out of college by this point?
I'm out of college at this point. This was only about a year ago. And I decided to make an appointment at AP House and walk in, and they happened to have this ready to go. So I had to wait a very stressful weekend. But as soon as I saw this on the table, it made my heart skip a beat. That was I made it.
And
watch.
You know, it's always great to hear a success story at an AP retailer. I know there's a lot of horror stories out there. They do right by some people sometimes. And they deserve all the credit in the world for that. And it was a welcoming environment. It was easy to deal with. It was fun. It
was one of the best watch boutique experiences I've ever had. And the best part is there's a wonderful French restaurant, Pastis, downstairs. So if you feel sorry for what you bought, you can always have some champagne downstairs.
And this is over on the west side of Manhattan?
In the meatpacking district.
All right. Cooking up something good, AP. Well done. So what drew you to this particular model? Because yes, it's rose gold, and yes, it's a ceramic bezel. But I mean, I feel like every watch appeals on multiple levels. There is sort of the emotional level and the intellectual level. How were you at this point latching on to a chronograph specifically? Because I feel like that's the standout feature here. Chronograph, quick release lugs. It's even got a buckle with a quick release. This is a very watch tech type of enthusiast watch.
Absolutely. Well, the other option was the slightly smaller one with the screw down pushers, and seeing with the ceramic pushers, the finishing is done so well. Chronograph tying back into my passion for cars, and just the overall aesthetic of the watch really reminded me of an Aventador. Seeing that first kind of in-your-face car, but refined in such a way that it's just right.
Like
and
the Italians can get away with anything. So
right.
Aventador is a great example of that.
Absolutely. So when I saw this, I went, well, that's kind of the Lamborghini of watches. It's a bit brash. It's a lot. But if you wear it right and you're happy with it, that's what works.
See, that's the sense I was getting, that this is a gearhead's watch. Big machines and little machines. And in a way, you don't have to choose. You can wear this while driving your Aventador when the day comes.
Absolutely.
So now AP, Vacheron, there was a dalliance with a Patek Philippe 5711. Tell me how that started and let me know whether that ever happened.
So coming after this and considering my next blue dial watch, of course, blue dial is a lane I tend to stay in for the most part. And it wasn't really doing anything for me, the 5711. It is a beautiful watch, one of the most comfortable bracelets, but there was something more that I had needed. And being such a fan of the 1970s, I started to look at the jumbo AP. And something that really found me in this spot was the fact that it's gold. It's a little bit of 70s in there with the gold. It's a bit more than the 5711. And of course, it's the original Gerald Genta design, which was what was most important to me. And to top it off, it has this stunning blue dial, kind of tying back to the ocean.
Without a doubt, and it's a fascinating watch because on a lot of levels, it's almost like it's been grandfathered into the sports watch category. This one doesn't go swimming,
No,
correct?
no, I don't even know if I can wash my hands with that.
That's fair. I think I probably feel the same way about my watch, to be honest. But it's also a fascinating evolution for someone who started with a legacy watch from a grandfather that was very humble in the grand scheme of things. Now you're established in your career, you're collecting Audemars Piguet. But the way you buy your watches has changed a little bit. I know initially you were looking at the dealers and you had a great experience, but you went a bit off the beaten path with this.
Correct. So now I tend to lean more towards gray for the pieces I find. And if it's something I'm really interested in, I need to spend a little bit of time with it. And I had spent some time with this piece in the store, just stopping in all the time and being a bother, and really fell in love with it. And for the most part, I daily that. It is the perfect daily. It fits under a cuff. It looks great in a t-shirt and jeans. And so what if it scratches? That's the purpose of it. And that was kind of my first large purchase after heading into the working world. Extremely large purchase, that is.
And it does make sense. I mean, the aftermarket, you pay a little bit more to get instant access. But for example, if you went to an AP dealer, you might not be able to physically hold one of these. There may not be stock.
I have not seen one in the AP house yet, and I've been there a few times.
So I guess the nice thing is you were able to go, you were able to physically hold it, see it, test it, decide if you liked it as much in person as you liked it in concept, and then you walked out with it.
Walked out with it, and it didn't leave my wrist for the first week, and it has now been a few different countries and has gone in the water once, not by choice, because I forgot. And it's been perfect ever since.
So now, okay, you've got a broad array of watches. You're officially a collector, and your tastes are starting to refine. You started with sports watches for the most part. Now you're thinking a little bit more about dress watches, about formal styles, independent brands. Where did that start, and where's it going?
So, well, now I spend a lot more of my time in an office where sports watches aren't really going to fly or physically fit under a cuff, as some may not. And it wasn't until I was out at a dinner that I saw, it's about 2 years ago, an FP Journe on someone's wrist for the first time. And that really caught my eye. It was like nothing I've never seen before, and I was still getting into watches. And now that's kind of the avenue I'm going down, is a bit more of a refined dress watch, something a bit smaller, such as a vintage tank as well. And that's kind of where I'm leading now. I'm over the large pieces, and they will forever be with me, but it's time to shift.
That's a very interesting path to take, especially since you're kind of spreading the love around now. You're going into high horology, but then you've also brought your dad along with Sky High Horology. This is his watch.
Yes, so I borrowed that from him for today.
And this is here for a reason. We've got a Speedmaster Professional with a one-of-a-kind box. Tell me the whole tale behind this.
So growing up, my dad would always tell me this great story of, the moon landing was coming and they needed a new TV to watch it. And that was their big purchase that year.
How old was he at that point?
Been 10 years old. And so his parents went out and bought a new TV to watch one event. Unthinkable today, maybe. And the way he describes that whole time of sitting on the floor, turning the knob to the right station, right? There was no remote, and how inspiring, and how that kind of exploded his passion and hobby for all things space. And every time he's told me that story, because as most dads do, I've heard it 150 times, and it's still great. I can hear that story 150 more times, and it's just as exciting. So I figured he's not really into wearing watches anymore, mostly an Apple Watch, but I figured he has to have a piece of moon landing history. So I got him this Speedmaster, but he's not a materialistic guy, so I had to find some other way to make it special.
Like emotional resonance.
Right. And I was able to get in touch with Charles Duke, who is the 10th and youngest man to ever walk on the moon, and only one of 3 alive today. And he was kind enough to hear me out on the story that I had, and I mailed him this box, and he signed it, sent it back, and then this past July, my dad was gifted this, and had him open it up, and wow, well, it's a beautiful watch. So look up a little bit, and he sees the signature and a little bit of a note. And I had attached a screenshot of the email back from Mr. Duke. And that was one of the most special moments I've shared in recent times. It was the closest I've ever seen him get emotional, pretty much ever. And that's a day that I'll forever remember. And he now daily wears this since July. So that's how I know he truly loves it, because he's not a big watch guy. He likes his Apple Watch.
And I think that the greatest and most profound signature of a true watch enthusiast, really, once you're branded an enthusiast for life and forever, it's when you give a watch to someone you love.
Right, and there's no better feeling than giving a piece of history, but also a connection that just him and I have. Those long Sunday drives in the car, him telling me about the moon landing and why it was important, and it was like having a second education sitting right next to me and driving me to breakfast. It was fantastic.
Well, my man, you got started very recently in the watch collecting space, but I can see you're a lifer already. Luke, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.